Hey, John Lafferty here with another devotional. This time it's Mark chapter 12, verses 18 through 27. A little context here really quickly. The Pharisees and the Herodians just came to Jesus and asked him a question in the temple. There's lots of followers around, lots of people. Jesus is becoming very popular, very powerful, and they're trying to trap him. Well, Jesus conquers their question, and he takes on the next contender, who is the Sadducees. Who are the Sadducees? Well, they are the most prominent ruling members of the Sanhedrin, which is the group of people who ultimately contrives to get Jesus put to death by crucifixion. So, the Sadducees are very important. They are a very small number of people in the Sanhedrin, but the ruling member of the Sadducees, or the head of the Sanhedrin, is a Sadducee, not a Pharisee. There's lots of Pharisees in the Sanhedrin, very few Sadducees, but the Sadducees are very powerful, and that's what you need to know. So they come to him and ask a question. Here in Luke chapter 12. They say, Jesus, there's a man who's an older brother, like myself. I'm the oldest brother. I have 5 younger brothers. And this man takes a wife, and he has no son. And then he dies. Well, the wife is still alive. So according to the law, the second brother has to marry her. Right? This was a very common practice in Old Testament Judaism. It was the way to give an heir to the older brother. If you didn't give an heir to the older brother, the inheritance would be lost. The land that the family had would be lost, and so they had to give him an heir. Kind of weird to us now. We don't do anything like this in modern times, but they did a lot of this back then. Preserving the line is what they called it. So they're saying you got to preserve the line. My younger brother would have to marry my wife and have a kid, a boy, and that boy would be my heir, not his. Essentially is what's going on here. So, they say there were 7 brothers. 7 brothers. Not just 5 like me, like I have, but 7. The first took the wife and he died and left no offspring. And the second took her and died and left no offspring. And the third likewise. And the 4th, and the 5th, and the 6th, and the 7th. So 7 brothers have married the same woman. That's kind of weird. I know the Pharisees thought up this weird question, and when they heard it, they were like, oh yeah, we got Jesus now. He's not going to be able to answer this. This one is going to just stun him with its weirdness first, and then it's going to stump him with its thought-provoking anecdote, and he's not going to have an answer. So, they say, finally, the woman dies after the 7 brothers die, and they all get to heaven. And when they get to heaven in the resurrection, when they rise again, whose wife will she be? For 7 of the brothers had her as a wife. Whose wife is she going to be? Whose wife is she going to be? Well, Jesus answers really clearly to the Sadducees. He says, number 1, you don't know the law if you're saying this thing. You don't know what it takes to be a Hebrew teacher 101. Right? The basics, the foundation. Because Moses said, for when they rise from the dead, they neither marry nor are given in marriage. That's pretty simple. There's no human marriage in heaven. It's different. It's completely different. And the second thing is, you don't know the power of God. For God said, I am the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob. He is not the God of the dead, but the living. Jesus says, you are quite wrong. That's what he says to the Pharisees. Not the God of the dead, but of the living. Meaning that when we live this life and we die, God isn't the God of that. He is the God of the resurrection. He is life after death. Wow. What an amazing promise. So the Sadducees are here mocking Jesus, pitching him this question that's going to embarrass him, make him look like an idiot. And Jesus not only sees their hearts, but answers the question in such a way that they're dumbfounded. He points it out, you're quite wrong. How does he do that? Because he says, number 1, just to recap again, there is no marriage or giving in marriage. And number 2, you don't know the power of God. That's the big one. You don't know the power of God. We already talked a little bit about marriage and giving in marriage in heaven, and that doesn't exist. And so the power of God is what the Sadducees failed to understand. The Sadducees were very skeptical about miracles. They didn't believe Jesus actually did miracles. They believed that he was a conjurer of cheap tricks. He didn't actually heal people. He just brought healthy people in who looked sick. They were rationalists. A lot of people who are agnostic or atheistic nowadays are like this, and that's similar to what the Sadducees believed. They also believed in no afterlife. Right? They believed that God didn't have the power to raise people from the dead. They trusted in their own rational thought and said, once you die, that's all there is. This is a lie. This is a lie. God raises those who believe in him to eternal life. This we know very well. We can trust that. We can trust the power of God to do those kinds of things, the kinds of things that are above what we can ask and say and think, the kinds of things that transcend our human finite understanding, the kinds of things that blow our minds. So when you are finding yourself, transitioning here a little bit, right? When you're finding yourself doubting the goodness of God, doubting whether or not this summer is what he wants for you. Saying, God, I was supposed to be at camp. God, I was supposed to be learning these things. I was supposed to be having fun. I was supposed to be, possibly meeting a boyfriend or girlfriend that I really liked. All these things, hopes and dreams that God has for you. You're saying, God, why not? Why can't I do that instead of what I'm doing now? Well, let me assure you, don't question the power of God. You are exactly where he wants you to be, and you're learning exactly what he has for you to learn. This is a lesson that was really hard for me to learn. Really difficult to see how good God is in circumstances that I don't understand. So, much like our situation may not be clear to us now, it will be in the resurrection, when we are with God forever. May we keep our eyes on that. May we not doubt the goodness of God in the resurrection. May we love him to that extent and be faithful to his calling. So thank you for listening. This has been Mark chapter 12, 18 through 27, where Jesus answers the Pharisees, proves to them they don't know the resurrection and they don't know the power of God. May you be blessed today with an understanding and an unshakable confidence in the power of God. Thank you. Have a good day.